I'm good, bro.
You ready for Afrikaans?
And no.
No Afrikaans.
Only have
No.
subtitles like Semendelaan, but for you Afrikaans people.
Okay, so
But I shouldn't say you Afrikaans people. That's
no,
already.
you can.
Okay.
Why not?
My parents are Afrikaans. Did you know that?
No.
Fereirra.
Yeah,
Like, full on.
your dad or your dad?
Both. My mom's from.
Why are you English, bro?
Bro, everyone asks me that.
That's like seriously.
No,
why are you
serious, bro. I've been trying to find out for 34 years.
English? Like all your kids are English, bro. You and Donovan
Bro,
and Brad and
like-
everyone's English.
Like, not familie, like gesin.
Yes,
Like, full on, like boere, bro.
yes.
Yeah. I think I'm adopted.
That's so weird, man.
That's so funny.
No, but you and your brothers, bro.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
English, man. You guys
They
are
put-
English.
Put us in English schools and
Yeah.
thought, once we go out into the world, it's going to help. And so I ended up in Montana, Pretoria, with the coffee shop.
The very English part of Pretoria.
Exactly. The most Afrikaans place in the most Afrikaans place.
Exactly, man. Next to an Afrikaans primary school.
Mm.
Okay, cool.
So,
Welcome, guys. Welcome to episode 4 of The Huntsman Show, of Die Huntsman Show. Vandag gaan ons oorskakel in Engels, want ons sit hier met 'n Engelsman met Afrikaanse ouers.
Yeah.
Dis waar ons gaan nou in hierdie we're going to try and find out in this episode
So I didn't
why
catch what you
Jason
said in
is
the
Eng-
first bit there.
why Jason is English, but his parents are Afrikaans. But anyway, Jason Ferreira. Do you
I
hear
love
that
it,
surname? Ferreira.
Yeah. In English it's Fereirra.
Ferreira.
It's like the chocolate.
Ferreira Rocher.
Exactly, yeah. So
Your parents should have named you Jason.
Jason.
Jason. Now I'm going to be tongue twisted because I have to speak English.
yeah, go.
So Jason Rocher Ferreira.
Rocher Fereirra. Oh, dude. Yeah, I always go like the chocolate and then just like not like the chocolate.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
it's Fereirra.
Like the chocolate, but not.
Totally not.
Like a coconut. I'm a coconut.
what that means. But yeah. So I
Anyway.
think the short and the long is I think on my dad's side, his mom is steel, which is super
Oh,
British,
okay.
and so that's where it maybe comes from.
Yeah.
Steel like angle
steel.
line.
You take something that's not yours.
Very important E. There are two E's in there. And like the hardcore stuff, you know.
Like Daniel Steele.
Exactly. Blue steel.
Blue Steel. You rock a blue steel, man.
Thanks, bro.
No, I'm gonna put that in one of our reels.
I've got a video on how to rock blue steel.
Hey, what are you saying, the Zoolander clip?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I've got
The Magnum.
yeah, it's actually all in the eyebrows.
Okay.
You know, so
Nice, man. Anyway, Jason, this is gonna be a very fun conversation.
oh,
Jason is actually a very serious guy.
It's
Jason
very
is
boring.
Jason is a coffee shop owner.
dude.
Jason, tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Yeah, so I grew up in PE in die Huntsman. I've got one Afrikaans joke that I
Nice,
can
man.
pretty much throw, but they say hulle sê dis so winderig, daar selfs die wind waai. Nee, this is completely wrong. You can see the disappointment in your face. Hulle sê dis so vriendelik, daar selfs die wind waai vir jou. That's the joke.
I love
Thanks,
this.
bro.
I love
Anyways,
this,
I
man.
can just see how people are cringing on that side now.
No,
Yeah, let's
man,
go.
people
Yeah.
are gonna love this, bro.
So,
This
yeah.
is gold.
Yeah, so I grew up in PE
Yeah.
and I studied sort of part-time there
Mm-hmm.
and I was involved in ministry and church and everything there, which was great. Some of the best times of my life there, and I went to Grey High School.
Great PE.
Name drop right there, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Not Great Bloom.
Yeah, people say, they say, Grey Bloom, and I'm like, no, PE. They're like, where's that?
In PE.
Like right next to, have you never been to the sea before? Like,
Yeah.
no.
Dude, I've only been to PE like twice in my life.
Really?
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a cool place. But
Yeah.
just like I don't think it's that like usual for people or regular for people to go there.
Yeah, because it's quite like
It's a specific place. You know, you go there for a reason, I think.
Definitely.
Because the wind is for you.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out why we went there. No, I'm joking. No, it's actually an amazing place. The coastland there, the wild side is
It's beautiful.
Yeah, up to J Bay and St Francis Bay is actually unspoiled.
Yeah.
And we have this thing with my family. We go like for sunsets and sit on the dunes. It's unbelievable,
that's
man.
awesome,
And it's so sort of just part of your everyday life. So I surfed a lot when I was in PE.
That's cool.
And I think that's probably why I didn't make it through my studies. But in the flip side is I think that was a big pivotal thing for me, because I always felt like the mainstream sort of studying, then getting a 9 to 5, you know, it didn't fit what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I learned differently. Like I actually I had to work a lot harder at school than most people to sort of just, you know, so I think differently. And then I always wondered sort of, you know, if there's something wrong with me or whatever, you know. And then after school, and then coming into business, realizing like that's my passion, and I actually didn't want to be put in a box or a mold.
Yeah.
And my parents were amazing as well, because they never said like you have to go study to be a doctor or an engineer. I wanted to go into engineering.
Yeah.
And
why? Is it because of PE? Like there's lots of opportunity there for engineers, or like why engineering?
I think the title was cool for me, like a lawyer or an engineer. So then I thought, okay, cool, you can be influential through having a title. And now, you know, you'll know as well, in our generation, like so many people are moving out of corporate.
Yeah.
A lot, because they realize that you don't, you know, a job title kind of ties you down, or
I spoke to a guy yesterday. He's actually a bottle store owner.
Is it?
A liquor store owner.
Is it going well with him? Like,
no, he actually. So the funny thing is, you know, people that own liquor stores usually don't drink.
Yeah.
It's weird, but he doesn't drink. This guy.
Great.
But he has a liquor store. He was in construction, and like with COVID, he was like, screw construction. I'm done with this life. And he took everything he had and he bought a bottle store. And just kind of as a kind of a early retirement plan, like yes, having your own place, having your own business, but also like the way you run your business, not having to be there every day or all the time or all that stuff. So and he actually told me like how many lawyers and engineers and like people that are highly qualified, architects, come into his bottle store, and then obviously those people, they talk, you know,
they drink,
like,
bro.
I can't get no, they do, but they can't. But he says they drink because they are like unemployed, they can't get jobs, and it's like he said, it's highly qualified people. So yeah,
with degrees,
it's changing a lot, man.
Yeah, and I think like, you know, in this society, you can easily say like, I'm a doctor, I'm an engineer, and that means that you're influential. I don't know. I've always loved business. Even going back to like when I grew up, I would like look. Obviously, our parents gave us money to go out and do that.
Yeah.
But I loved the fact that I could go out and wash people's cars. You know, with their water and like they just loved that you were keen to do business and then make my own money and
no overheads, bro.
No offense. Take tips, kids. Or the lemon juice store, you know, they actually buy because they feel sorry for you. But and at school there was this thing called Entrepreneur Day. Yeah. And like this is where I really thought I love business, because everyone was selling like the usual thing, and I thought to myself, like, a donut's cool, but it's like messy. So why don't you make like an elongated donut with like filled with caramel, and it's just easy to go, dude. And we were so rich. We probably made like $1,000, but we thought we were like
rolling in the
dough. Get it?
Yeah,
rolling in the dough.
Rolling in the dough.
Oh, that should have been our
slogan. Yeah, that's a cool name, man. That should have been the name.
Would have killed Krispy Kremes.
Dude, that concept is actually a thing now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. We were in, Joanna and I were in Cape Town last year, October, I think.
Yeah. And
they have that market in Point.
Yeah.
Point.
Yeah.
they've got that market. Have you ever been there?
I haven't been there, but
it's
I've
like a
heard
food
of it,
market,
yeah.
like a beer and food, and it's a cool vibe.
Yeah.
They've got all these different little shops and restaurants and stuff, and one of the places sells just these things. And dude, it's pumping. It's like we were only there for 3 days, and we went there twice because it's so nice that thing.
That specific donut.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's like it's almost like it's like a waffle type thing, but it's they call it also like a donut thing, whatever.
So we're gonna put the link in the description below, and you can click on findmydonut.com.
Do not find my donut. Do not find it.
Do not worry. Oh no.
Yeah, man.
But it is cool. So I think
yeah.
I'm a big I'm very thankful for my parents for not pushing me in one direction.
Yeah.
Like I loved sport and I loved music, and
Yeah.
music is still a big part of my life.
Yeah.
But I think if I'd limited it to doing one thing, I wouldn't have been able to work with many diverse people.
Yeah.
Like, because I work with a lot of different teams.
Yeah.
And management and that. And
yeah.
and I think these days the commodity of understanding people is sometimes more important than like head knowledge or.
Yeah, dude, like what do they call it? EQ, ne?
Yeah.
Emotional.
IQ. I think EQ is like.
No, it is EQ. It's emotional intelligence.
Like
IQ is intelligence.
Yeah.
And then emotional intelligence is EQ.
Right.
Yeah. So it is a big thing, man, and it's definitely like relationships are so important these days because, and I try and always keep good relationships. Sometimes with an agenda and sometimes without. If you have to be honest,
Are you gonna still accept my friend request on Facebook?
Yes, buddy. That was emotional intelligence. A good example for you.
Is this the right time to ask? You're gonna
don't ask any more questions, dude. I'll do the question answer. I'll do the questions.
Okay, sorry. I'm the interview guy. I tend to do that.
But Jason, just quickly, man, I've got a question for you. Actually, it's so funny because before the chat, Jason asked me like, "What are you gonna ask me?" And I was like, "No, there's no questions. We're just gonna chat." And now I'm like, "I've got a question for you."
Dude, I didn't get the memo last night. Did you forget to send it?
So I wanted to ask you. You told me the story of when you came to Pretoria, and I thought it's such a good story.
Okay,
I just wanted to share a little bit more on that.
Yeah. So I was actually involved in youth ministry. And then our pastor from that side thought it would be good to sort of expose me to the bigger church family this side, and so I came up and did like a gap year. But there's two stories. There's one which is kind of the safe one, and then there's the one where it's like, how the heck did I even think of coming up again? So I came up and did a gap year, and that was really like my foot into sort of community in Pretoria and building good relationships, because I think that is like what you said. If I didn't have these great strong relationships, I would have, honestly, I don't think I would have made anything. Everything that I do is still tied to strong relationships. And I think if you look at good business guys, they're not the guys that are necessarily the smartest or and my one friend said this once, Henry Ford would be, when they questioned him, they said, what are you going to do with a gearbox or whatever? Then he would be like, let me just speak to my, so I'm not saying you should hide behind not researching your field that you go into, but the commodity of people is huge. Anyways, that's a long story. So I came up in 2011, end of 2011, 2012, so it's been 11 years now. I actually said to myself, 10 years and then I'm out of here. Just trying to find.
Now you're hard stuck in Pretoria, man.
Yeah, now there's too many potholes. I can't get out now. And so then with the church, that was a good support base for me. So I came up and then got worked at church for about a year, just under a year. And I just felt I don't want to be in an organization. So it had nothing to do with like a specific church or anything like that. I felt the Lord call me into a business. For some reason, I don't know, and I just followed my heart. There's that poem that says there's two roads and I chose the one less traveled. That always bugged me because I wanted to go for that road that no one sort of wanted to go for, and I'm so thankful I did, but it was very scary. and so I flew home on December 25th, 2013, yeah. And I still had to, I just give a sermon that Christmas, and I flew back, and I was like, I can't go back, I can't do it. But I drove down, because I drove up, and I literally sent in my resignation letter, and I said, I can't anymore. I had absolutely no plan, bro. I had absolutely no plan. I drove back, and I only had 1,000 rand in my bank account, literally 1,000 rand in my bank account. And I was like, I prayed about it, and I was driving up, and then literally an hour later, a friend called and said, could I, get involved with just doing sound and something? And I said, great. And so I would just put one foot in front of the other and just take every opportunity, and I wouldn't be
one step at a time.
And every project I did it to the fullest. I built great relationships.
Yeah.
And I think that's more important than having a great business. You know what I mean?
I think it's key to having a great business.
100%.
It has to come before
everything.
Yeah.
Because it separates the corporate look and feel to really loving people and so that's in a nutshell. And then from there, we can go into details if you want to.
Yeah, no. So what I remember
for 3 years.
2 minutes intervals.
Oh, dude, I stayed in a church
jungle
building, bro.
An abandoned church building.
No,
not like a homeless person.
Everyone likes to add tails on this story. You're gonna edit something in here now. Listen, I was always the best photographer I've ever seen. I just want to do a brag.
Oh, thank you.
You're really good, bro.
Thank you for plugging me. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah. So
what do you want to ask me?
Yeah. So welcome to my show.
This was inevitable. I knew it was gonna happen sooner or later.
I talk too much, bro.
No. So what I remember about your story, just coming back to that, is when you came back to Pretoria and you started with selling beans.
Yeah.
So I wanted that was that's obviously
so,
a little long down the line.
Yeah. So basically, I actually then quit, working full time at the church, and then joined Magalieskruin.
Oh yes.
So I was part of them for 4. Hashtag, bro, folk music. Those were the best 4 years of my life. We travelled South Africa. And we met people with no plan. And Juba and Anik are just amazing. They're like family to me. And one thing that I always saw in their lives were I would be like, what's your 10-year plan? You know? And they'd be like,
what's that?
We don't even know what we're going to eat. You know what I mean? They just lived life to the fullest every day. They weren't concerned about where they were going to be in 10 years, but they were so focused and driven. Yeah. And so that was a big part as well. And then I thought the gigging life, it wouldn't sustainably keep you going. And I had this entrepreneurial urge. I was just doing that to get by. And then I started to buy and sell beans. So I would literally cold call people and say, listen, I'd phone Rob from Beaver Creek. He's in Durban. I'd say, Rob, can we name drop? I don't even know if we can. He's going to beep everything out.
No, I'm not.
No, he's not. So I call him. I say, dude, I've got so many clients. What's the cheapest? And I had no clients. So then he would give it to me at super low.
Yeah.
And I ordered. I just remember then I would go to churches and restaurants and start to buy and sell, and really get into the commodity of coffee. And because I loved it. Yeah. So I think that was also my gateway in making money and what's the right word? Not trying to go for the coolest idea, the freshest idea, because that's not what's going to generate you cash. Everyone likes coffee. Yeah. And I loved it, and that's how I got into it. So I remember. Do you want to hear the first story? Okay. So. Yeah, please. It's super rookie. Yeah. And I delivered to one of the restaurants here in the north, actually. Yeah. So I had to sell my car, and I bought a scooter. Dude, I can't believe this. And I had a backpack, and I filled it with 4 kilos of coffee. And I went to the restaurant owner, and I was like, "Here's your coffee." And he's like, "Cool, man. Where's the receipt?" Yeah. And I was like,
"What's that?
What is?" You asked for coffee, bro. Come on, delivered. But I didn't say that, and you could see.
Pay up.
Yeah. He paid. He was like, he needs proof.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Oh man, I left it in my car. Sorry, I didn't have a car."
You don't even have a car.
I ran to Pick and Pay. or to CNA or something.
What a
like that.
receipt.
And I still have that receipt.
Deposit book.
I still have that book.
Yeah.
And I've never
So
used. That was the
cool,
only receipt that I ever
ever
wrote
used.
out. Yeah. And from there, you know, you.
Dude, you should frame that thing.
Yeah, I should. Yeah.
I'm serious, man. Like once we, you know, so Jason, can I say about the gentleman's thing, the lounge thing?
Yeah, but before you must say it's Jason, eh? You say
Jason,
it's Jason.
Jason Ferreira.
Yeah,
So once you get the Jason is planning to do like a super cool coffee gentleman's roastery lounge type thing.
Yeah,
it's still a concept.
Yeah.
But that you should definitely like put that thing in that.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah.
Like the first business that you know that happened before this all happened.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Dude,
I think that would be really cool.
And the story is amazing, but you never know this when you're there. You sort of only see it.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I think with business, the thing that I realized while you were talking now, it's like, you know, people. It's not often when people come up with. You said you didn't go for the coolest idea, you know. It's like you think I'm gonna become a YouTuber, you know, and then you work for it, or you think I'm gonna become a restaurateur, or you think I'm gonna become a hotel owner, or you know, and then you go for it, and usually it doesn't work out. Like when you actually take it one step at a time, like when you started selling beans. You didn't necessarily think that I'm gonna be, you know, a coffee shop owner one day.
Not at all. Not at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like I
can't actually believe while I'm sitting here what we have. It's unbelievable.
And and I think that's how the Lord works, man. The Lord tells us, like He shows you the next step. So I think that's the way the Lord works. It's like, you know, like I explained this it to my wife this way. Like He shows you a door, and you walk through the door. You don't know what's on the other end. You don't know what's inside the room. You just walk in. And there could be something or there could be nothing. Yeah. But there's always another door. There's always another door.
Yes, that's good, bro.
And there could be two doors. And that's where decisions come in. Understand? So that's where free will is. Dion actually said it in our interview. He said the devil always has an exit plan for you. Yeah. Which is, I think, also very important for people to. It's a very good point.
That's very good, yeah.
So there could be two doors, there could be three doors, there could be one door. But you will only know once you spend some time in that room what the next door is you need to take.
That's so good.
And that, you know, obviously the end goal is where God wants you. Yeah. But He doesn't put you in that place immediately. Yeah. Because you can't handle it.
You can't handle it.
If you just had 4 coffee shops from day one, would you have made it?
Not at all. Not at all. And I'm glad that I didn't, because the road, we've been friends for like 4 years or whatever now.
Yeah,
so
it's been a couple of years.
Yeah, and that is like more valuable to me than any amount of money. The transparency, the road that we've walked is and I think the whole. There's so much to say about this. Exactly, God isn't going to give you everything in one go. He needs to develop your character before he can trust you with that. And another friend of mine, he's a financial advisor, and he said this so cool, and it was such a good way to describe of like, if it goes well with you and God starts using you, it's like God's investing his finance in your life. So you need to steward that as you are like a financial investor for the Lord.
But that's a very good point.
Yeah, so I think I made huge mistakes, you know. In the
Even me.
Yeah. Schoolgeld, they call it schoolgeld.
Dude.
You know, and
I'm
now
already through school. I'm in university already. Like I'm tertiary. Sorry, man. Yeah.
It's a bachelor degree at schoolgeld.
Yeah, I'm not a bachelor. I've got a wife and kids.
No, I'm a bachelor.
Sorry, man.
No, dude. But so I think that so there's a lot to say about this. Stewarding the money well, but then also not being too like rigid, like allowing yourself to. And Richard Branson is a big influence in my life. There's a book called, if you ever are stressing about whether you should leave your job because you want to do something else, read the book Screw It, Just Do It. It's like a small book. It's like 30 pages. It absolutely changed my life. And he's also a very big thinker of making calculated risks. So having a certain amount that you can sort of actually just explore, and that's what you're doing now with your brand. You know, you're doing your photography, but you've got this thing on the sideline that's that you're exploring, and you'll make mistakes. You're going to lose money, but then you might start gaining, and then you're going to, you know, when you start out with business, you sell circles, and then you see, oh no, but there's triangles on more and you just pivot and you jump. So it is unbelievable. I cannot say what's happened in the last 5 years is from my own efforts. I cannot.
It's been a journey.
It's been, and the Lord's hand. But I've also put myself under being very transparent. That's a big thing. So I've got people that can dial into the accounts. They can see what's going on. So the decision making is not just mine and mine alone. And I think that's also healthy as a man in society as well. That you're not just on your own mission. You know,
dude, that's something I learned this year. Like being open and honest, transparent. It's such an important thing, man. It's such an it's a lesson that I'm learning with my wife, for instance. It's like talking to her more, like not just keeping everything bottled up and thinking that I need to sort this out, I need to fix this, I need to do this. Just opening up and like saying, telling, like I mean that's what you kind of get to a point, even with God, you get to a point where you have to realize, like, Lord, I can't do this. I can't do this. Like I'm weak.
Letting go.
Exactly, man. And I think it's so, because that's a climax in your relationship with the Lord. It should be, but that should also be a climax in your relationship with people. And that's the thing. Something that I actually want to compliment you on is like saying, like, yes, I'm the business owner, but I have no idea how this works. I've got this person who does that for me. Like that's a great thing. Like, okay, cool. Then I know who to speak to.
Yes. And I also think you allow that person to grow in their skills. And you're not sitting on their neck the whole time, and they just know a lot more than me in the field. You know that thing that you said, going back to with your wife, and sort of, it's not a thing of weakness. It's actually a thing of vulnerability. And you could actually know the answer, but you allow the person to grow with you. So I often do it with my staff, where I might know the answer, but I say, I'm really not sure. Help me here. And dude, you can walk into any of our shops. The culture is great. You're always greeted really well. It's healthy. And I think that was also a big thing I saw in our society. If you go into restaurants and those places, the staff get shouted at. They work in fear. And that's something that I always couldn't understand. Like, why did you have to shout at the person to get the order out? Why can't you inspire them to want to work better? You know, reverse. And I think in a relationship as well, that's a big one, because I think we learn daily, and we honestly don't have it all together. But God says when we are weak, He is strong. And then we can get out the way, and He can actually do what He does.
There's strength in weakness, man. That's the thing. There's strength in weakness.
And it's also, we spoke about this 2 nights ago. When Jesus came down, He made Himself less. He didn't think less of Himself. He made Himself less. And
it was intentional. Exactly.
So it's not like we're weak men, and like I've got a holy discontent about people that don't take responsibility and want to because our generation is very easy to throw the ball and blame.
Shifting the blame.
Exactly. So it comes a point where you have to man up and you make decisions for your family and whatever. And I've made terrible decisions, but I've had to own up and say, listen, it's my fault.
But that's the part of being a man. Like, you have to, and it's not, and that's the thing, like what we're discussing here, it's counterculture. You know, it's not. Yes, men have to be strong, but there's a reason why. You know, yes, men have to provide, but there's a reason why. You know, all those things. It's like you only say what they need to do, but you don't say, you don't tell them what the reason is. Like when I'm fathering my sons, obviously I've got a daughter as well, and my job is to tell her how beautiful she is and how loved she is, but I need to tell her why.
That's good.
Not just that you are loved. I tell her why. And the same with your boys. With boys, you tell them why they are strong, and what they need to do with that strength.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that maybe the past generation, definitely our or my father's generation, or our father's generation, maybe failed to do, is tell us why we need to do these things, like why you need to be strong, and what you need to do with that strength. Understand?
Yeah, my dad was actually quite, he wasn't how can I say this, he wasn't like a big sort of masculine sort of like, I'm going to come into the room and take over type guy, you know, so I definitely am more my mom's kid than my dad, because he's like an introvert. I'm loud, you know, coming in, and maybe sometimes people associate that to being a man, being like loud and in charge, and which I think to a degree is necessary.
Yeah.
But if I had to go now, my dad passed away last year in October, and if I went to, you know, we went to his funeral, and to see the impact that he had, I couldn't believe it. There were so many people there, and so I think influence is more about being transparent, truthful.
Yeah.
Those characteristics more than, okay, yes, a man should be strong. Physically needs to be strong, needs to lead. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
I think that's how God's designed
But
it.
I also believe that, but you need to know why.
Exactly.
And that's where the issue comes in with, you know, what's happening in society, and the message about men out there is like toxic masculinity and all that stuff. Like, yes, but there's also a reason why that masculinity is toxic, because those guys, those people that, you know, those handful of guys that are toxic weren't taught what to do with their strength. And now they use it for, like, man, it's like criminals become criminals for a reason. They're not born criminals, understand?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you know, they were brought up incorrectly, and they were taught incorrectly, and they, you know, in some cases there weren't other options, but there's always another option. It's like, again, the room analogy. There's always another door. You know, there's always
about
another
your choices that you make.
So,
and also, like, with the whole toxic masculinity, it's a very dangerous subject at the moment, because on the one hand you've got ladies that want to do well in the corporate scene, and they want to be like seen, and you know, for so long maybe they haven't been, but then you've got guys that also and are being like sort of suppressed. But I tell you now, if a house is on fire, who do they phone? Phone guys. If you need plumbing, you phone guys. That is just, God has just designed it like that. And I think, but I also think that God, you know, with women and being more sort of in tune with emotional stuff, that they also have a massive role to play.
Yes, absolutely.
And so what's happening now is like, it's sort of like one against the other instead of together. If we could just listen and be like, oh no, I need to be stronger now, less emotional. You have to be more emotional. It's a team thing. It's not a one against the other. And I think that's what's happening at the moment. They're trying to turn that thing.
They are, man. And that's how the world works. The world attacks the truth. That's how it is. And it's always going to be that way. It's been that way forever. It's going to be that way until Jesus comes again. So that's the thing. Like, I was just thinking while you were talking, it sounded like you wanted to defend why you're making a statement about men, and it's like just the fact that you want to defend why you're saying something
is already
about men is like, why do you have to defend yourself? Why can't we just say like, men are strong?
Exactly.
Like, and that's a good thing. You know, it's not a bad thing. Yes, it if in the wrong hands, it's used for bad stuff in some instances. But generally, God made it as a good thing. You know, and He made woman beautiful. It's a good thing.
Definitely.
Man, you know, women are beautiful. Women are soft, tender. They have that side of God. And we have His manly, strong war. I mean, the Bible says the Lord is a warrior. Yahweh is His name. You know?
Sure.
That He's a warrior. It's like, that's
like
not weak, man. That doesn't sound weak, bro. It's like,
lion and the lamb, but He chooses. It's like He can be.
He's the lamb for us, but He's the lion against the enemy.
Very good,
So I think that's the thing, you know. But that balance, lion and the lamb.
Interesting though, to go back to the whole like movement with men and women. They did a research study now currently on women in the workplace over 30, so between 30 and 40, that were super successful. So they were top paid lawyers or accountants or you know, CEOs, women. They just specifically did this between 30 and 40 who didn't have kids, but they were highly successful, financially stable, but not in relationships and that. I think it's 87% depressed.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So even though they are having the success, God's always created them to be a mother and to multiply.
Yeah.
And so it just shows in that simple way as well. So
yeah, but that's again, man, and that's society. I don't know if you know who Donald Miller is, but he's one of my favorite authors. The first book I read about it from him was Blue Like Jazz, but then I started like reading all these books. But I saw this not a sermon, a talk that he did one day. He's a Christian writer, but he writes from a non-Christian perspective, which is really cool to me.
very good.
But anyway, he did this talk on the collapse of society because of the industrial age, because of the industrial revolution, and he said how damaging that was to the family system.
Yeah.
Because men started working away from home, men started traveling away, and working in mines, working in steel mills, working in factories.
Yeah.
And then they'd be away for weeks at a time, come home, and you'd leave his wife and his kids alone on the farm or on the ranch or at the house or whatever.
Yeah.
So that was such a big decline in society because the male strength, you removed that strength from the family, and the kids only started learning from the mom, which isn't a bad thing in itself. But when you only learn about the softer things, the tender things, you only learn how to act one way.
Yeah.
There's no balancing these kids anymore because now you're not getting
information from one side.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're not getting the strength and the warning and the tigting.
Discipline.
The discipline.
Yeah.
From the father's side.
Yeah.
Yes, the mother disciplines, but dude, I see it with my wife. Like my boys challenge her way more
Is it
than they challenge me.
Oh, obviously.
Yeah. Understand? They love her and they respect her, but they test her a lot more. Like you understand.
Yeah.
Like there's a line in the sand, and they try and push that line.
Yeah.
With me, they do it, but much less.
I also don't push your line too much.
Don't push my line.
Don't cross my line.
So
that's a great point.
It's necessary, bro. Both. Very much necessary. Like the mom's the comforter, the love, the tenderness, the kindness, the affirmation. But the father, and someone said this, I think Donald Miller also said this. Oh, it was John Aldridge actually. He said, kid, doesn't matter whether he's a boy or she's a girl, they get their identity from their fathers.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
And that's why you see so many households without dads, because it's an attack, bro.
Yeah,
it's an attack.
Yeah. And it's actually simple because we know sort of what the answer is.
Yeah. But anyway, I don't know how we ended.
That was like I was actually thinking about now, like books to tell them to read for business. On that note,
let's get back to business. Let's get
back to business. Yeah. But it's good, man. I mean, even in the workspace, I have to lead super strong in some places, and then I've got this thing that I tell my girlfriend as well. Like I always lead from the back, so I lead, but pushing other people forward, serving, leading. But it's not a cop out. It's not a thing of I'm not going to do the work. It's you still guide.
Yes.
And I think that's how the Lord works with us as well.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, but if people want to know books that have like changed my life, is Think and Grow Rich.
Napoleon Hill.
Yes, and Rich Dad Poor Dad. Obviously, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And then the one
what's his name?
Kiyosaki.
Robert Kiyosaki.
Yes, and the one that really is, I've listened to it like 3 times now, is I'm joking, no, I can't remember it. Imagine that, you can remember it. Listen to this book 3 times, I can't remember the... No, it's called the E-Myth. So
E-Myth?
Yes, So it basically speaks about, are we good for time? Or?
No, it's my phone.
Okay. It basically speaks about a role in an organization. You get the entrepreneur, you get the manager and the technician. and how at all stages you need that in an organization.
Yes.
Yeah, so you can't just function with entrepreneurs just coming up with ideas because there's no measuring of it, and then there's no work.
Yes.
And most entrepreneurs get stuck in like doing the work.
Yes.
And that's where they get like burnt out or they start hating. So that is a phenomenal book. If you
that's so cool, because I think like I've got a massive problem. I consider myself an entrepreneur by the way that I act, but not by the way that I am.
So you're actually self-employed.
Yeah.
Basically.
Or unemployed. Whatever you want to call it.
My mom says, like, what job do you have, bro?
What do you do?
So hoe gaat het met your coffee shop? Wow, we push like tons of coffee a month, man.
Yeah,
I'm just joking.
But I think that's the thing, like I often get stuck in the starting phase, like the startup phase.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, okay, what do I do next? Like, okay, now I'm starting something new.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. You start a lot, but you finish nothing.
Okay.
Not nothing.
But that's because you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, like, I need that, those other roles to fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a tough thing because we just actually appointed an ops manager with all the different things that are going on, and then it's like you have to stand back and allow them to, and then you need to think of the next idea.
Yeah.
I would like buy a property and then stay there for like a month or 2 months, and I'll be like, yes, I'm getting bored now.
Yeah.
So and that's I think entrepreneurs are they want to go forward. They don't want to just maintenance, but you need maintenance and you need technicians as much. So as glamorous as entrepreneuring sounds, yes, I have worked technician, manager, everything. So people mustn't think that like an entrepreneur just sits there and comes up with ideas the whole day. There's like, you still pay bills.
Yeah.
You still have to do the hard work.
Yes. I think it's Robert Kiyosaki who actually says, like, get the experts. Like, get the experts in your life.
Yes.
Like he said, he has his lawyer, and that's his lawyer. He has his, his expert on this. He has his expert on this. Yeah, so get the experts. And I think that's something that I see in your organization that I think is a really good thing, is like that you establish that culture and that you have the balls to actually step back and allow them to bump their heads and to make mistakes. And then, like, yes, okay, have a sit down, like, okay, dude,
let's just chat about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it. And what are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do to change it? Like, you're not fired or anything. It's like, let's be different. Let's be better or whatever.
And often more than not, I'm surprised at how well it goes.
Yeah.
Because I think you can also teach people to think like you, which is not necessarily the right way. Because I don't have all the answers, but when you start teaching people to think for themselves and to come up with solutions for themselves, it's so fun. It is so fun to see in an organization.
Yeah.
Because then you're actually just part of this thing.
Yes.
And you're on the bus and you're enjoying it with everyone, as opposed to driving this bus and getting tired and pulling everyone the whole time. So it becomes fun. You know?
Because then it's a team, bro. It's a team.
Teamwork makes the dream work,
yes,
bro.
Yes, man. And a team sport is fun, bro. You make more money in an individual sport, but team sports are
I just wanted to say. I was thinking about golf now.
Yeah,
I love golf.
But golf, golf.
So
I don't want to talk about
I think
golf.
there's a scripture in the Bible that...
About golf?
Yes. It says he'll lead us to greener pastures.
Oh, yeah.
This is how we're going to down this thing. That's like real men down sparkling water.
Do it, bro.
No, I said
I'm
we.
not
I said we.
I can't down.
You just passed
Never
it by.
could.
Maybe you should drink so that I can talk, and then I'll drink and you can talk.
How's your water?
So bubbly.
Yeah. Yeah, man. No, I think definitely the values.
Yeah.
So here's the thing about business. What I've learned is, and it's something that I think I want to bring up. It's like even people that aren't religious follow religious principles for success in their business, and they know it. Like you can read books from Branson and Kiyosaki and who else is rich that isn't, like Elon Musk or Warren Buffett or whatever. Like, and they all apply biblical principles in their business, whether they like to admit it or not.
Yep.
Some of them
Yep.
admit it actually.
Yep.
Some of them, I've read books by people that I know are not religious. They even say, we're not religious, we don't believe in God. But giving, I give because it's a principle.
It's a principle. Yeah,
and it's a
generosity.
biblical principle.
Yeah.
Like I give 10% away of everything because I get back.
Yeah.
You know, they obviously leverage that principle, but
Yeah.
still, it's a biblical principle.
It's a biblical principle. And,
so how important do you feel like those principles are in business, like implementing them?
I think it's everything, but I think there's two sides.
Yeah.
Because I think you could become so generous that you can ruin your organization as
Yeah.
well. So that's also a fine line. Your generosity must be calculated, I think. And I'm not saying that, now don't give a certain amount or whatever, but I think you need to be smart about it.
Yeah.
And giving goes not just financially.
Yeah.
Giving is like your time, your attention. What do you give at the workspace? But I think at the end of the day, again, to not be tied, because the Bible speaks about mammon, serving mammon
Yes.
or God.
God, yeah.
And so you have to test that the whole time. So I know today, if I had to lose everything, I would be able to start over. Because I don't tie myself to a company. And that's why I don't want people to associate me with a certain company, because then you become so prideful and you become
Yes.
so self-absorbed,
Yes.
that thing can't be taken away.
Yes.
And,
that's true. That becomes your identity.
Your identity. And that's a dangerous thing. And you must actually make yourself so free. God can use you to open a printing shop tomorrow. Why do you necessarily have to do something in that? So also we've been, and that's a mold we've been taught. We have to go into the structure. A big dream of mine is to own coffee plantations, and I would like to own a medical center. I would love to own a medical center.
Like Patch Adams.
Yeah, I think that would be my role. Wouldn't be
the clown.
Guys dying from like a liver transplant. I'm like there with my balloon, bro. Like you're gonna be
The
fine.
red nose.
You're gonna be fine. No, dude, I'm not.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That movie.
That's a lovely. I love that movie. Really.
Yeah, it's so good, man.
But yeah,
especially the gynecology thing that he did. Like that was so good.
I don't remember that, bro. But anyway.
Yeah, we're going to check it out. YouTube.
Yeah, he's gonna put
Patch Adams gynecology clips.
They're gonna type in Patch Adams. It's gonna be like some weird guy stitching something in America.
Oh my word, man!
Like
and his
Patch
name is
Adams.
Adam.
Yeah, exactly. My brother actually had leukemia.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when he was 11. Yeah, 11 years old.
Donovan or Brad?
Donovan. Yeah.
Donovan.
So
Sure.
he came through it, and he's healthy now, and
Yeah.
he's running a leg of bean juice in Port Elizabeth.
That's awesome. Man.
Yeah, and so that's been also an amazing journey. So I think it's a dream of mine really to have a medical center. I don't have any expertise, but I would love it, and I would love to work, because you hear more and more these days of people going and they're not happy with the service and the way that they're treated in hospitals.
But that's the thing, man. That's actually a beautiful thing about having resources. Like you can do that if you have the money. You can open up a medical center. You don't need the expertise because you have the money.
Yeah.
And you can get the experts in again.
Yeah.
Like get the people in who can do the job.
And then you change the culture.
Exactly.
You don't change the.
Yeah. And I think that's something that's very important as well, is like working with like-minded folks, like getting people involved that supports your vision, supports your culture, and could not only support it, but actually improves on it.
Yeah.
Like adds to it, makes it better.
Yeah. That's where I think someone like yourself comes on board, and just an absolute expert in the field. And it's freeing for me to see how well you do, and I can't really tell you what to do. I mean, we can always chat back and forth, but that's just a practical example of how it works in our organization.
Yeah.
So love it, bro.
That's
I
good.
feel
Man.
we need to do a ching chong cha, like just on the moment.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. Ching chong cha. Ching chong cha. Yes.
Oh.
So there's science behind this, right?
Yeah.
I know how to crack the ching chong cha.
Okay, but don't share that
Alright.
secret.
That's in the next episode.
We'll put that in behind the paywall.
$5 per month.
Yeah. On that note, guys, go support us on Huntsman. www.teamhuntsman.com.
But really, dude, people need to see.
Buy a shirt.
Yeah, dude, it's amazing.
Or a hoodie.
The qualities, I wear it every day.
I've got a shirt.
Man, it's amazing. It's honestly.
So that's how people support us. That's how we do the.
Okay.
Yeah.
Through the.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you want to support us,
Huntsman clothing is the best. Best quality, best price, honestly.
Thanks. For
and
that.
I'm picky with my clothes.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
That's why I started making my own. I'm so picky.
Did you make me longer pants though? Like.
Those aren't Huntsman, eh? Don't be
deceived.
Don't be deceived. Yeah. These aren't either. But
Yeah.
I love these, man.
Dude,
I'd
if we
love
could-
to make these.
Joggers. They call them
bro.
joggers.
Yeah. That's
Please,
fine.
bro.
That's how it should be.
Yeah, I know. But I just get ripped like. I'm a
You don't
business
want
guy,
your-
but I never wear suits and
You
ties.
don't want your racket to sit there by your toes, man. Your cuff.
Bell bottom.
Yeah. Well, anyway, dude,
Cool,
I
man.
think this was
Thank you.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
I think it was a really cool discussion, and thank you guys for tuning in. Jason, thank you so much for being here.
Big pleasure.
And,
yeah.
Yeah, well, you can go and check out Jason. I'll link all his stuff. I can't link out from YouTube yet because
Okay.
we don't have a track record yet. So it's a new thing they implemented. You have to have your show or your channel needs to be had to be up for a while. But anyway,
Okay.
I'm not gonna bore you with that details. But again,
On
you
Instagram
can.
or whatever.
Yeah. I'll link everything, and I'll link Jason. Go and check it out. I'll link his businesses. Go check that out. And you can support us. This is it's not a joke. You can support us by going onto teamhuntsman.com, and with every purchase that happens through our site, a part of that comes back to the show, and that's to make this better and get better water and
Real men drink sparkling water.
and all that stuff. But yeah, thanks.
Thanks,
man.
bro.
Appreciate
Thanks for
it,
your
bud.
time, man. Yes,
Thank you,
yeah.
buddy.